All right, so this is how to hook up and set one of our Russian trailers. So this ball size is 2 5/16. The coupler, when you're hooked up, and like I said, you'll have somebody on site for this, but when it's put back, it's open, so you'll need to make sure that's forward and locked in place so it's still locked onto the ball. You're gonna have your hooks. You'll need to twist so they're not dragging on the ground, but not too tight, and then hook to the placement on your truck. You're also gonna have this breakaway cable. So you'll need to hook this up to a carabiner or something on the truck. You can also pull it out of here if you need to, and then just run it through the loop. Whatever D-ring you have, say it's something like this, you just run it through and then put it back through and then install it back in place. The 7-way cord, your electrical power for brakes, lights, anything in between. So you just hook this up to your 7-way port on your vehicle, and then also your jack, you're going to want to make sure is jacked all the way up. So it needs to be all the way in the up position. This has a drop leg. You pull this pin to get the drop leg to come up. Pull that pin, it'll go all the way up. This needs to be in all the way up position, otherwise it'll drag. And then you're gonna walk around your trailer and double check everything. Make sure the tire's secure, make sure all your jacks are in place. They're locked in with these pins. And we wrap these handles so they're not hanging down. We just wrap this handle and put it in there, and then get the pin in there, and it's locked in place. You want to make sure these panels are down, of course, locked in place. Doors are locked in. This is what it should look like when you're hauling it. Door will be locked. Fold the handle in. These steps need to be folded up, so they'll look like this, of course. Fold them up, and you got this pin. You need to put it in this hole over here so it locks it in place. And you're just gonna, you can kind of pick it up and double check that it locks in place. So when you haul and you get to your set location, you're gonna want to try and choose the most level ground that you possibly can. These can go on some slope, but you don't want that necessarily. You're gonna want it on a flush, level ground. A couple things to keep in mind when you're getting to that location. If you're setting on grass or soft ground, just expect ruts, most likely. Remember, the trailer is fairly tall, definitely taller than your vehicle. You want to make sure that you're not scraping the sides with branches or buildings or anything like that. Make sure you have plenty of space around the whole trailer. Once you back into place, get it set into place, first thing you're going to do is chalk your wheel. You're going to want to see what location, based off of where you are, what the downhill slope is. So let's say the back end is where the downhill slope is. You're gonna wanna shove this up against underneath the tire, chalk both sides just in case. After you got it chalked, we leave the chains hooked up to the truck, the vehicle. You pull the pin and you can undo the coupler so it's no longer attached to the ball. You can undo your breakaway cable, undo the 7-way from your vehicle as well, and then just kind of wrap it around, put it in up here. From there, you're gonna wanna put your jack down. So, you're just gonna jack it down into place and take it off. Detach the trailer from the vehicle. So you'll detach it, it'll pop off of there. Once you pop it off, you'll pull the vehicle away so that the trailer's standing alone by itself. You're gonna wanna level the trailer first with the main jack. So you're gonna level it, put it in place. You can get a small level and put it on here and run it this way, and then just raise or lower it to where it's level. You pull this out, and then you drop your jack to the down position, and then you put the pin back in, and then you're gonna lower your jack, and then let's say the trailer is level right here. It should be fairly level. What I'm gonna do is it's touching. Once it starts to get a little tough, I go maybe 1 or 2 more complete spins of the handle to get that one a good firm set. You're gonna do that for all jacks. You're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna make it touch the ground. So it's touching pretty firm there, and you go like a couple, maybe 2, 3, 4 times more. Just make sure it's firm. Now, if you have these jacks down and you jack one of them up too much, it's gonna release pressure from the other side. And so you may need to go back around after you've done all 4 jacks to where you think it's tight enough, and you may need to go double check them. And so you're gonna just wanna go around and maybe do 1 more handle spin on all of them just to make sure they're good. Of course, you can make sure your chock is touching. Then you can start setting up your trailer. I like to run the hose connection first so that I can get the water fill going. So it's just a regular garden hose, and then you're just gonna screw it into this freshwater connection, the city inlet. You're gonna just screw it in. Next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna turn your water on at the spigot. And then we're looking in the mechanical room now. This is your main from your city. So your city comes in right here. You're gonna have to have this open. These can be closed for now for the pumps. It goes up and through here. So if you're gonna use just the garden hose as the hookup, as the water supply, you're gonna want this city supply open. And then tank fill closed. You're gonna have pressure tank open as well. That'll help with constant pressure. And you're gonna have this main shut off down here closed, because this is fed from here. Now, if you wanna fill internal water tanks, so remember here's the line of where the water comes from, you can close the city supply and then have the tank fill opened, and then it should start filling. Now with these trailers, you're gonna have to have power to allow the water to pass into the tank. If you don't have power, there's an automatic float switch that'll restrict it, so it'll shut it off so you don't overflow your water. You can flip these on. You can do the main converter, the AC, depending upon weather, of course. And then we're gonna hook up power. So if you want to, for now, just leave the main off. Those 2 you can leave on. And then you'll go hook up power. It shouldn't affect it either way, but just so there's not a crazy initial draw, you're gonna hook up power. So this is our adapters or our pigtails. So this little guy, you push in. So it's got a little locking mechanism right there. So you can only put it in one way. So you push it in and then you twist just a hair, maybe a, 1/8 of the way, 1/8 turn. And then you're gonna twist this on so it stays locked in place. Nobody can pull it out. And then you're gonna hook up your cord. So we should have power now. There's a red light showing that there's power. I wouldn't go based off of this just because those LEDs burn out sometimes on those pigtails. So now you can come back in here, and that was electrical outlet number 1 that we plugged into. We're gonna flip that on, and then you're gonna see that everything turned on. So I'm gonna turn this up to 68. You're gonna hear it kick on. So we'll turn it up to 68. I'm gonna have my women's lights on, men's lights flipped on, porch light on. You can have your service light, your spare you can keep off. Keep your pumps off unless you're gonna be using the internal water tank. And then you can have your fan turned on. These should all be turned on as well. Those are just the lights behind the mirror. This battery disconnect, keep that off. Here's your radio. You can just power it on and switch to any station you want. Volume up and stuff like that. You can hook Bluetooth up to it as well. Going back to the internal tank fill, you got your main valve open. You have the city supply shut, and you have your tank fill open. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna run and start filling this tank. You're gonna wanna make sure this valve is shut as well, because otherwise you're gonna have water draining out. If you have water draining out onto the ground, you know that this valve, your main drain for the internal tank, is open most likely. So then close that, and then it'll start to fill. Once you get around, this point or so, maybe 25 gallons or 30 gallons, you can open these up. These are your pump supply valves. So it's gonna come from the internal tank, run to your pumps, and then they're gonna start filling. Once you flip these on, it'll start filling these pumps up with water. You wanna make sure you have water in here at all times. So next thing is you're gonna wanna make sure the main shutoff is closed still until the water is filled all the way to the top, and it'll shut off. You can still leave your city hose hooked up, and it'll still continue to refill this tank because of the float switch. But some of these trailers don't have that feature. And so what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna shut the tank fill, and then you're gonna wanna shut the city main, and then you can take it off, the hose off, if you want to run just on the internal. So running on just the internal, what you're going to want to do is make sure this main shut-off valve is open, pump supply 1 and pump supply 2 are open. And then you're going to be functioning from there. You're going to want to make sure your pumps are turned on as well. And then all your functions will work great from there. If you're going to run just off the city supply, which is the easier route, then all you need to do is you just have your main on. I like to keep the main shut off over here for the pump supplies shut off. You have your city supply on right here. Your tank fill is closed, and you can leave this pressure tank open. It just kind of gives you more consistent pressure. For power requirements, you just need a 1 circuit. It's 110 volts, so regular home outlet. You plug it into that. Generally say 20 amp circuits, and it needs to be on its own circuit, otherwise it'll trip. You can start opening up stalls. You're taking this pin off. I just put it in your hand for now. Make sure to not pinch your fingers. And I grab up, and then I pull up here as well. And then I drop this lower step. This will typically be closed. I open that. There's a key that you can find in the back stall right here. The mechanical room is what we call it, and it's labeled as that as well. It's going to be in this box on the door. So I pulled this out of here, and now what I'm going to do is take this and unlock the door, of course. So it's already unlocked. I opened it up. So this is what it's going to look like when you get your trailer. So when it shows up, it's going to be clean, fully stocked. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 toilet paper rolls. You got a trash can in here as well. You have soap in the soap dispenser and hand towels up in the trifold dispenser up there. You want to just go through and check functions. Should look like this. Once you let your foot off, it'll stop, it'll refill, dribble a little bit, and leave some water in there. Other thing to check is the sink. There's going to be some air bubbles in this hose, but it'll subside here pretty soon. Now it's clearing up. Up top, you can open this exhaust vent, is what we call. You can open it all the way and turn on this fan, and it'll suck out, bad smells if you need it to. And then if you want it off, it's too noisy, you can just shut it off and close this up. This is your AC vent, and you'll want that open to cool it off. You're gonna want to make sure you keep all these pins, don't lose them. So what I typically do is I get all the pins, and then I go and I put them where I got the key, which I got the key from the mechanical room. And this little storage, or else you can just kind of neatly put them in there on the floor. Say your vent's over, you're gonna go back in the stall, just lay the toilet paper back down, say the toilet lid's open, you need to just shut those. You'll need to close these exhaust vents, close this up, fold up your steps, put the pin back in your steps, in this little hole on the side. That way it doesn't move. I like to test it, it's not going anywhere. You're gonna lock your door again with the key. Start undoing your jacks, you jack them back up. And then once it's off the ground, you just pull the pin, kick it to the side. Remember to catch this handle with the chain. And then just put the pin back through there. Do that for every jack. Make sure you still have your chalk in your wheels so it doesn't go anywhere. If you did use the internal tanks, you're gonna wanna make sure you drain the tank. So you just twist this. It may be hard, it may be a little stiff, but just twist it to where it's running parallel with the pipe. And then you should have a pretty massive flow of water coming out. I'd step back, let it drain. Before you move the trailer, you need to have that tank drained and the waste tank pumped. From there, just jack it back up so that you can back your vehicle underneath, the ball of your vehicle underneath the coupler. You're gonna have this opened at the time, but then once you lower the trailer onto the ball, just lock it in place. I always do that. It's the first thing I do. And so then after that, you're gonna hook the chains up again. You can crisscross them, and that's what we prefer to do. You're also gonna have this breakaway. Remember, hook this breakaway back up to your truck. Don't have it hanging too low. If it's too low to the ground, it's gonna snag and it could potentially rip that out, and then the brakes will engage. So what you're gonna wanna do from there is we typically run it through this hole up there and then hook it up. It can be kind of loose, just don't have it too loose. Also don't have it too tight, otherwise if you turn, it could pull it out and it'll engage those brakes. You have your coupler locked in place on the ball, chains hooked up, safety chains crisscrossed and hooked up. You got your breakaway cable hooked up to your vehicle. You're gonna hook up your 7-way cable again to the port, the 7-way on your vehicle. And then also from there, once you're lowered on, remember, always jack this jack all the way up. Pull this pin in, and this drop leg will come up. You're gonna have to make sure that your pressure is off the ground, the trailer's off the ground, like that. So it's off the ground, and then you're gonna be able to pull this jack. Otherwise, it's gonna be very hard to pull. Always drive with your lights on. We suggest taking it off the automatic and just flip your lights on. After you have your 7-way hooked up, turn your lights on, and you can have your hazards flipped on. And then you can see if your tail lights are flashing. It's gonna let you know if your blinkers are gonna be working. Give us a call if you have any other questions or issues, and we'll be happy to help with those.